Let's go. We are live. So good to see everybody here. I'm just checking to see who's here. My brother's here from Wichita, Kansas. Let me turn on all this stuff really fast so you can see exactly what I am seeing as well. I am in beautiful Medellin, Colombia. It is wonderful. And tonight we're going to have sort of a fireside chat all about Luminar Neo. It is the software that we can use to do some really cool things. Montreal, Canada. That is awesome. And look at this. We have our very first member. So the very first member ever. This is Bryant Wally. He is the very first person to join the channel as a member. We just launched that this morning. I haven't even announced it. And so awesome. Thank you very much. So today what we're doing is it's all about Luminar Neo. It's the AI editing software that allows you to do some really fun stuff. So I'm just going to zip over here and show you what this looks like. Here's the software. I actually have this set up where there is absolutely nothing. So we're coming from a blank slate here. I have created a blank canvas for us to work from. So we are really going to go through all of this stuff exactly as you would do this in real life. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore how Luminar Neo works from the ground up. We're going to first look at the catalog, then we're going to look at the tools that we can use to edit our images, and then we're going to look at how we can put those tools together to create our own custom presets. And while we're at it, we're going to look at all the presets that are built in that we can use. We're going to look at the masking tools and the adjustments and how we use layers. And then also some really fun things where we can do some generative remove and fill. So we can add and subtract things using AI to create some really interesting looks. So it's going to be really fun. I know there are a couple people still joining us here, so I'm just going to pop over and check to make sure I'm not missing out on anybody. And it looks like we have somebody in here from Canada. And also, Jorge from Costa Rica. That's 3 in a row, Jorge. So, Chambly, Quebec, Canada. French or English? What's going on up there? That's really cool. So tonight, don't forget, this is informal. This is a very laid-back class. And so if you have questions or comments that you want me to dive in, this is a class that's for you. And so we have a small number of people watching tonight. Luminar Neo isn't one of those applications that millions of people are using. I think they will eventually once they figure that out. So we have lots of time to sort of go through things. And then one other thing I forgot to mention, that today Luminar Neo just announced the big fall upgrade. It's a big promo. And so I have a discount code. It's in the link in the description of this video. And then also if you use this code right here, right there, yeah, you can get an extra 10% off. So some of these discounts are pretty substantial. So you don't want to miss out on that. Check the links in the description of this video. The big fall upgrade sale is going on until August 25th. And so that's the bonus code and savings I put on the little thumbnail. That's in the link of this description. If you're joining us in the future, if this is sometime in 2025 or something, I'll try to keep all of those links refreshed because Luminar Neo is having sales all the time. So I'll try to make sure those are refreshed. Okay, so we have other people that just joined us. And so we have Florence, Kentucky. Oh, Kurt Wall. Hey, Kurt, nice to see you. And Paul, French. Okay. And then we have Robert Gray, who is also either from Kentucky or French. I'm not sure. So Robert, you'll have to tell me which one of those things you're saying me too. You're missing a no. Okay, so let's start diving in and taking a look at Luminar Neo. I will be checking back on questions and comments as we go through this. And so what we want to do here is I want to make sure that you know everything from the ground up. So the way that I've done this is on my computer here, I have created a fake hard drive. So the Luminar fake hard drive right here. And on this fake hard drive, so this would be something that maybe I would use if I had an external hard drive or some space on my hard drive. I have just added some random photos. And so they are some random architectural photos, and I think there's even some scenic photos mixed in there. I have some portraits. I've got some models mixed in with some travel photos. And then one photo shoot that I did with a model named Destiny. So those are in there. And so what we're going to do is we are going to take all of that stuff and we're going to put it in our catalog and first understand how the catalog works and work through that. So let's zip back over here to Luminar Neo. And I want to give you an overview of this interface. What's going on in this interface? So we have three distinct sections. So we have the catalog, we have our presets. That's grayed out right now because I don't have any images selected. And then we have our edit section. And so the way this works, right now, this is a default catalog as you would get it if you just bought this brand new. It has some sample images built in, and you'll notice these sample images have this little cap here, a graduation cap. And so those are to tell you that if you click on these, there are tutorials built in. And so you can click on those little bubbles here and you can go back and forth between these. That's how that works. We're going to add our own images. But the catalog is the place that we go and we organize, we filter, we rate, we call all of our images. So we dump all of our images in there, and then we can organize them in unique ways. In fact, with the new upgrade, they just announced this morning for Luminar Neo, so it's not out yet. I think it's in about a month or 6 weeks. They've added star ratings. They've added the ability to organize things in custom formats. There's new film strips. There's a bunch of stuff. I put a video out about that this morning. You can take a look at that. So there's some stuff that Luminar Neo will have in about a month that's not here that I'm going to show you tonight. So you will get that if you get this, or if you're a subscriber, you'll automatically get that. So the catalog, we import, we organize, we categorize, and we do all of our exporting and stuff. There's another thing that we can do in the catalog. It's right over here. So in this area right over here, you can see that we have these special tools. They're generative tools. And so what a generative tool is it is that AI stuff that we all know about where you can create something from nothing. So you can generative erase. In other words, you can take something that's in the image and get rid of it and replace it with something from AI. You can gen swap. So that means that you can take, maybe you have a guy with a polo shirt on, you want him to have an actual formal suit. You can say, hey, swap this shirt out for a formal suit and tie. Generative expand allows you to open up your images and make them larger and generate content where there isn't any. And then we also have some tools for merging HDR images, focus stacking if you're doing like macro photography and you're shooting series of images. We're not going to do focus stacking tonight. I'm not sure we'll have time to do much more than HDR merge, but we have these tools for panoramas and things. And then also we have this resolution enhancement. So you can take images that are perhaps older images, lower resolution, and you can increase the size by double or triple or quadruple the resolution, and it works really well. And so that's built in. I don't think we're going to touch on that tonight unless a lot of people want to see it, but it's good. If you have some older images, specifically raw images, this really works well. So let's take the catalog and let's start working. Let's get some images into our catalog. So what I'm going to do, there are two ways to add images. So we can always just click up here, add photos. And we also have folders. And so these folders, what we can do is we can click on those and add a folder. So we're going to do both ways. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm just going to click add photos. And then I'm in my fake hard drive here. So I've already gone over there. I'm going to go into the photos folder. And then what I'll do is I can go in, I'm just going to grab inside this portraits folder. Uh-oh, did I put no images in there? I think there are no images in here. Maybe they are. Okay, yeah, there's a bunch of images. So I'm just going to take one or two at random. I don't even know what these are. I'm going to click add, and then right away we can see something happen. So now we have these two images that have popped into our catalog. And what happens is these, if you add them like that, they show up in this thing right here, this single image edits. So it's saying these are images that you added one at a time. They're not part of a folder structure. They're sort of one-off images if you just want to import one image. What you can do is if you want to get rid of these images, you can right-click on that and you can move it to the Luminar trash. this right here. That's what you should not do unless you absolutely know that you want to get rid of that. So what that's doing is it's actually throwing that image, the original file, into your trash. When you delete your trash, it's gone forever. Probably what you want to do is you just want to remove that image from the catalog, and then it will still be on the hard drive. In fact, let me back up a little bit and explain the difference between folders on a hard drive and a catalog. So a catalog, the Luminar catalog, what it's doing is it's referencing files that can be on multiple different hard drives, external hard drives, internal hard drives, network storage, all that kind of stuff. So it's cataloging, it's keeping track of places all over your network or on your hard drives, and it's organizing things. And so you can change things inside the catalog. You can organize, you can remove, you can add, you can develop images, all kinds of stuff. And it has no effect on the physical location of the images themselves. And so they're separated, so that way you don't have to worry about accidentally deleting images or overriding them or something like that. So the catalog is just referencing the actual images. That's the benefit of a catalog system. And so that's what a catalog is. All right, so if we want to get rid of these, we can just go in here and we can say remove from single image edits. So this right here, if I do that, it removes it from the catalog, but it does not remove it from the hard drive. I've just taken it out of Luminar Neo. It's still on the hard drive. The way I prefer to add images is to go over here to the folders. And then right next to the folder, there's a little plus sign right here. And so if I click on that, it's saying, what folder do you want to add? And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to my fake hard drive. I'm going to go to my folder of photos. Then I can just click on an entire folder. So Destiny, for example. If I click that, it takes everything inside that folder and it adds it. And then it also shows up over here in our folder section. And so we can see that we have a folder called Destiny that matches the folder on our hard drive. And that's really nice. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is as images are coming in, they're not coming in really quickly. And so I'll go in here and I'll double click on this image. Notice that it's sort of a soft image and then it pops in. If I zoom in here, it's soft and then it pops in. That's because this is a raw file and it has to go and interpret that raw file. In fact, I know it's a raw file because we have some data up here about that file. The camera that was used, it's got that information, what metering mode, what mode the camera was in. It was in manual mode, what lens was used, the resolution of the image, how large that image is, the EXIF data, all that information is there. And so we have that inside of our catalog. I can click on this and go back to this view. Also notice there are two different sizes to these images. So notice this one is a different crop than this one. But if I zoom back out here, notice this says 1503.cr3. That's a raw file. If I click on this one, 1503.jpg. There you go. I'm sorry, I'm cutting that off. And so what that is when I was shooting these images, I was shooting raw plus JPEG. So a lot of photographers do that. They'll shoot a raw file plus a JPEG file. So when I added that folder, it brought all of those in and it's showing the raw file and the JPEG file. And so there's a little trick here I want to show you because I only want to work with raw files. And so what I'll do is I'm going to go back to my catalog, and what I will do is I'm going to go to View, and then we have this raw plus JPEG pairs, and I'm going to say show the raw files, only show the raw files. That's really all I want to see. So when I do that, now I have, just my raw files. So that's all in there. Okay, let's add the rest of the images and I'll show you a couple other things here. So I'm going to go into this folder and I'm going to grab these three folders. I'm going to say add those, and notice that now those are here in my folders. That's really nice. In the upgrade that's coming, you can drag and drop and sort these folders in your own custom way. It's not here in this version yet, so that's coming in about a month to 6 weeks. They haven't said exactly when that's going to be released. So let's look at how we can organize and sort these things inside of our catalog. So perhaps we want to take, let's say, this image here, and let's get let's get something else. Let's say I want to take these 3 images, and what I want to do is I want to put them in their own special place. What I can do is I can create an album. So there's no albums there yet, so I need to create an album, and I'm going to call this Mark's Models. Doesn't matter, whatever you're keeping track of. Then I can go to my models and travel, and if I see something that I want to add to that, I can click on that and I can just drag it over to Mark's Models. So I can have albums for things like mountains or architecture, blondes, brunettes, catalog work, wedding of the Jones party, whatever. You can create your own albums that are independent of the physical folders that are on your hard drive. There's another thing you can do in the catalog that I absolutely love, and that is you can search by date. And so let's say that we want to look and see all the images that we took in a certain year. So when I click on all photos over here, it shows all the dates of the photos that I've imported. So I can say, oh, what did I shoot in 2014? There are all the images that I shot in 2014 or 2015. I can even see the month. I can even see the exact day. And so all of that information is there, and that just happens automatically. And one of the things that's also coming on the new upgrade, is a significant upgrade that they announced, is AI search. So in the next version that's coming in a few weeks, you can just type in things like red dress or horse or river or whatever, and it'll find all the photos that match that. You don't have to do any keyword tagging or any of that stuff. So there's some significant catalog updates that I can't show you because they're not in this version, but I just want you to know that they are there. Okay, so we have our images here. The other thing that we can do is we can mark things as favorites. And so if I go over here, you can see that these images have little hearts. So I can click a heart here, maybe this one right here. And then if I just want to see those folders up here, I have these different sorting features. And so I can say, you know what, I only want to see raw files or my favorites or things I've rejected or unmarked or images that I've edited. So if I say I want to see my favorites, then there are the favorites that I've selected. I can choose all files. I can sort these by capture time. I can also change the size of the thumbnails, which is really nice. So we're going to keep these small to medium. And then the other thing that we can do is when we're looking at a single image, we have this film strip here at the bottom, and we can turn it on and off with this button right here. So we can either see the film strip or not. And so that's the catalog, and it works pretty well. Let me see if there are some questions, any questions that you guys have about this. I think it's pretty straightforward. And so we did get a final answer from Robert. He is French, not Canadian. And then also we have ZM from Sacramento. Awesome. That's really good. Make sure you ask questions. This is your time. It's really, really fun. Okay, so we're going to go back over here, and now we're going to get into the fun stuff. So let me explain the difference between how Luminar Neo operates compared to other editing software like Photoshop or Lightroom Classic or Capture One or many of the many photo editing software. So generally you have, when you click on a photo, you've got some adjustments, exposure, shadows and highlights and color temperature and all that kind of stuff. And when you adjust that, you're adjusting it once. And then when you come back and you want to adjust that color again, you go back and adjust that same slider. Well, in Luminar Neo, it's a little bit different. And so there's this foundation that you first build. So the first thing that we do is we work with the raw edits. So if you're shooting raw, you're going to work with the raw file. And then after that's done, you do all your tonality and color and get everything as close as possible with the raw edits. Then you start adding more layers on top of that, more tools. Those tools are things like dehaze, or adding some texture to an image, or changing the sky, things like that. Anything that's above the raw layer, you're doing pixel level editing. And so if you do things in the wrong order, you can really create some weird issues where you can't recover things like your shadows or your highlights. You can destroy them. You can always undo. It's totally non-destructive, but you can destroy those highlights or shadows or midtones or things if you do things in the wrong order. So I'm going to show you how that works. We're going to skip over the presets for now, and we're going to jump into the edit. In fact, I'm going to get a different image here. So something that's a little bit more fun to edit than what we just had, so we can first understand what's going on. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab this image right here. And this one, I'm grabbing this because what I want to do is I want to show you what Luminar Neo is doing. So Luminar, when we go over into the Edit tab, we have a bunch of different tools. The tools are over here. Tools have two things. So tools have the adjustments that you can make. So we have a bunch of sliders, and then they also have masking. So we can make adjustments, and then we can tell Luminar where to put those adjustments. We can choose to do the adjustments to the entire image, or just to a person's face, a person's eyes, the sky, the mountains, the river, the whatever. And the way we choose those things is through AI. And so when Luminar Neo is looking at an image, it doesn't just look at the image, it scans the image to find all of those things. So when we go back over here, we can see as humans that this is a girl that has long hair. There's some water back here. There's a sky. There's this pot over here. There's a line. She's got some arms. Her eyes are closed. She's got red lips, all that kind of stuff. Luminar Neo is seeing a lot of that stuff. And so what we can do is we're going to let it do that. So let me show you how this works. If I go to any of these tools on the right-hand side over here, any of these tools, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the very basic tool, which is over here. It's called Develop, and it has this little raw. So this is when you're doing your develop on the raw image. I can do all my exposure and all of that kind of stuff. So I'll just do some basic stuff that I'll explain a little bit later. So that looks, that looks-ish okay. All right, so now we're getting there. Okay, so we've done some very basic edits there. I like that. Looks pretty good, much better. So now that we have that, if we go to any of these tools over here, let's say that we want to do, let me show you something really cool, relight. So relight will go through and it will relight an image as if you had a flash or some other light. It will artificially do that. And so what we can do here is I can say, hey, I want the brightness far to go down, or the brightness here. This might not be a good image. Oh, yeah. So by the way, I forgot to mention this. This stuff sometimes when it's first evaluating takes a little time. So sometimes it's not instant. The AI has to go and search for what's happening here. So once I have my adjustment, remember we have two things. We have the adjustment and we have the masking. If I click on masking on any tool, if I click on masking, we have a bunch of different options. So these options are brush, where we can manually brush to select an area to apply our tool. So in this case, we did some background adjustments. I can brush and say, I only want it in this area. I could do a linear gradient. And so we've got those different areas where we can sort of select large areas. We can select a luminosity, so different areas of brightness in an image. But what we want to use most of the time is this, the AI mask. And so the AI mask, if we click on that, our AI is getting ready. So you can see it's going bleep, bloop, bloop, and it's looking at the image. It's going through here. It's giving us a cool graphic. Notice now we have all these different things: human, sky, flora, architecture, and water. So the AI detected those things in the image. So if I click on human, notice the human is selected. If I click on sky, notice sky is selected. That red area is telling us what's selected. If I say flora, it's going to select the flora or the water. So the water is there. Architecture, I'm curious what it thinks architecture. Okay, well, is there a house back there? Yeah, I guess there is. So it's selecting that stuff. Now, the beauty of that is that later on down the road, what we can do is we can create these things called presets where we develop an image, we change the exposure, we change some different things, and then maybe we want to highlight somebody's hair, for example. We can use the AI masking to select the hair and do adjustments, save that sort of as this package to be applied to other images. Those are called presets. And when we say apply this preset to a different image, we don't have to go in and tell it where the hair is or where the building is or where the sky is or where the water is. The AI is going to figure that out and it's going to apply the same changes. So if you have a bunch of similar images, but things are moving around, you don't have to now manually go in and select all that stuff. The AI is going to do it for us. So again, in the edit area, we have tools. Those tools do different things. They change exposure or color or add atmosphere or whatever. Those tools have sliders for making adjustments. And then most of the tools, not all, but most of the tools have that masking, or we can either manually select, or even better, we can use the AI masking to have the AI select things for us. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start by diving in and doing some of these edits. Before we do that, I need to make sure that I'm not missing anything over here on the chat. I think we're okay. Okay, so are albums similar to Lightroom collections? Yes, they're very, very similar. The one difference between Lightroom Classic collections and even Lightroom CC collections and even albums in iPhoto or just, I think it's just called Photos now, and on a Mac or in Capture One, all of those have smart albums where it can automatically go and find things as you add it based on some criteria. So Luminar Neo doesn't do that yet. So that's the one difference. I wish it had that. It might be included in the next upgrade. I didn't see that in the release, but that's really the only difference. So albums, you can make as many as you want. You can add and subtract and delete. You can make virtual copies. That's another thing that's coming in the next version in about a month or so. So a lot of things are coming to Luminar Neo that have been around in other applications for a while that I'm really glad to see. Okay, yeah, so that's that. I don't see any other questions here, so we're going to keep chugging along, and we're going to see what else we can do here. So we've got this image here, and what I'm going to do is whoops, sorry about that. Hit the wrong button. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to undo that relight. So this little undo button right here, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can click on that on any of the tools and it will undo what you've done. Let's find an image, I think, that's a little bit easier to edit, something that has some depth to it. So I'm going to make these small icons. These things are still coming in. I do have an image that I loaded in here. This is where I wish I had that smart search so I could just go in and say, where is this image? So I have an image that I created, and it's a scenic photo. Let me see if I can just find it really fast. These are still loading in. The hard drive sometimes can take a little time to get things to load in. So all this stuff is popping in here. I'll see if I have in this. It's an image from Panama. Here it is. This is it. Okay. So we want to edit this image. So this image is from Panama. It's this beach. There are some issues with this, and we're going to go through and fix all those issues. So the issues that I'm seeing right now that really need to be addressed is number one, this is overexposed. So the sky has no detail. So there's no detail here. There's this really ugly bucket right here. We want to get rid of that bucket. I'd rather see a happy dog right there. We see that where the sun is right here, it's sort of, there's no detail. It's sort of blown out. We can make that a little bit better. There's a bunch of things. I want this to be more saturated. You can't see anything in the sky right now. And so let's go and fix all of that stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my edit. And the very, very first thing that I want to do is I want to start with the raw file. So one of the things that you will not see here, well, I guess you will, right here, is this. It says develop raw. So that's the first thing that you should start with. Unless you're shooting JPEG images, you want to start with develop raw because you're getting all of the benefit of the dynamic range of your image, all of the capacity of your cameras, megapixels, all the resolution, everything that you have there, you're going to be able to pull that out of the raw file. That's where you want to start. So you want to get it as close to the final image as possible with the raw development. So think of it as Adobe Camera Raw, a similar thing. Because once we do that and we start adding stuff on top of that, we're actually doing things at a pixel level, not from the raw data. And so we can get into trouble there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my develop raw, and let's just start playing with this. So right now we have some highlights that are just blown out. By the way, you can see, you can go right here. So view, show histogram, if you don't see the histogram. So if you really want to see a histogram in your images, you can turn that on or off. So we're going to turn it on for now, just so we have that there. So let's start working with this. So if I take my highlights down, all of a sudden I can start to see some clouds there. Maybe I'll even take the exposure down a little bit more. Yeah, so I'm starting to see stuff happening in the clouds. Also, notice we have some dust spots. See, there's a dust spot there and a dust spot there. We're going to clean that up later. I'm going to take the shadows. It's getting a little dark here. Open that up just a little bit. Try some smart contrast. See if see how good this is. So if you want to see before and after, at the bottom of the screen, we've got this little eyeball here. We can preview before and after. Or we can click this and we can do a little sweepy swipe here. So we can see whichever way you want to look at before and after, you've got that. And then also all the tools have a little eyeball. So this little eyeball right here, if you want to see just what one tool is doing, you can click on that and see what it's doing. So as we start adding other tools, that becomes a little bit more helpful to see what is this tool actually doing in this edit that I'm making. You also have a little eye right here in a circle. If you click on that, it's going to tell you what the heck this tool does. So a lot of the tools, you probably don't know what they're doing. So you can just click on the eye. It will tell you what's going on there. If you want to click learn more, it will take you to a web page. So there's a built-in tutorial, built-in help. And then also we have, of course, this reset tool. And what that does is just undoes. It's like an undo for everything inside that tool. Not the entire edit, just whatever's inside that tool. So this is looking okay. I think I can get there a little bit better if I use some curves. So if you're unfamiliar with curves, I think we'll probably have to have another class on curves because it can be a little bit tricky if you have never used them before. But I'm just adding some contrast here, something like that. I can go in here, I can change my color temperature. So I'm going to warm this up a little bit because it's a sunset. I'm not going to do any kind of sharpness or anything. So this is getting me close. I really, really want a lot more out of the sky though, but I'm just not getting it with the develop tool. Now, if you want to see all the different tools that you've worked with, there is a place in Luminar Neo that is doing that. So there is no history. So there's not a history palette like we have in Lightroom Classic or Photoshop or a lot of tools where you can see everything you've done in a session and go back one at a time. Instead, what we have is this over here. So on the right-hand side, next to tools, we have edits. So edits, think of edits as your history. That's exactly what it is. So if edits has a little white dot next to it, it means that something has happened. You've added some type of tool here. So if I click on edits, we can see that I have this develop and I've made changes there. As we start using more tools, you'll see these start to stack up on top of each other. And the order in which you apply these matters because, again, whatever's on top affects everything below it. And so you want to make sure you try to do this in an intelligent way. Okay, so the thing I want to do is I think I need to take the haziness out of this image. So what I will do is we have tools in different categories. So we have essential tools. And so you can see here, we've got the develop raw, which we worked with. We've got erase and structure and black and white details, adding vignette. I can close this. We've got some landscape stuff. So we're going to be, I think, using sun rays a little bit later on. And if you have this, you can open up, see what that is. Inside this landscape tool, we have a dehaze slider. That's what I want. So I'm going to just take this and say dehaze and keep dehazing. Sort of cool. I'm going to add a little golden hour to that. It's not dehazing as much as I would like. How much is it dehazing? I can click on this and see. It's not fantastic. So I'm going to undo it and see if there's a different tool that will do this a little bit better. And so we've got super contrast. Let's try super contrast. Highlights contrast. Ooh, now we're getting something there. We can change the highlights balance. Midtones contrast, shadows contrast. What is that doing? Okay. That's getting us, I think, a little bit closer. Then let's go and add, let's see what else we have in these tools. It's sort of just fun to go in and play with these tools. Let's try structure. Let's add a bunch of structure here. That's what we need, structure. Look what structure is doing. That's really helping us out. So I'm going to just take that up a little bit more. Now watch this. If I go over to edits, if I click on that, you can see now we have the develop, we have landscape, we have super contrast, and we have structure. So we're seeing the history of what we've done over here, and we can go in and individually turn these on and off to see what's happening. And also when I click on one, it's turning off everything above it. So you can sort of go and see how we've built this out. And if there's something that we don't want, for example, super contrast, okay, that looks pretty good. But if I didn't want it, I could undo what I've done and then redo some of these things. So I can redo some of the stuff that I did. There we go. I like that. And if I just didn't like it at all, I could just undo it and click delete and it would go away altogether. So, okay, we have that. But watch what happens though. Here's a little gotcha. So now I can go back over here and I want to tweak the develop a little bit. Notice we have develop, but it no longer says develop raw. So if I click on this one, so I'm going to click on this. I'm going to do a little curves adjustment here to make this pop. Okay. It's looking sort of ish better. I think it's a little too yellow. I can see what that looks like before and after. Yeah, it's just a little tiny bit of something. Okay, there we go. Watch what happens when I go to edits. Notice that now I have two different develops. I have the develop raw, and then I have another develop on top. So the thing that's a little bit different about Luminar Neo is you can use a tool multiple times, and every time you use it, it's adding to the edits you've done below. If you want to go in and tweak the settings you've already done with the tool, you have to go over to edit, select that tool, and make adjustments. If you just select it from the tools palette, it's going to add it as another layer in the history and in the edits. And so that's something that you have to sort of get used to if this is a new way of editing for you. Okay, so I've got this. There's a bunch of different things we could do here, but I think we're in a good place. I want to go to one other thing here. Twilight enhancer. I think we can do a golden, make this a little bit, actually I'm going to do a Brian Peterson. Let's make this mauve. Oh, there we go. Not quite that amount. So now we're adding sort of like a photo filter to this. That looks cool. All right, I like that. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to add some fake sunrise. So I'm going to place, oops, I have to do this so you can see what I'm doing. This is why I need somebody to switch cameras for me. I'm going to add, so here's what I just did, by the way. I went over here and I added this twilight enhancer. So I added a little bit of color to this. And now what I want to do is I want to go to sun rays, and I'm going to place the sun center. So I'm going to place the center of the sun where the sun actually is. And then I can add some fake sun. You can see I can really overdo it. So I'm going to make this pretty darn crazy. I'm going to make it pretty warm so it matches the actual scene. I can add more rays or fewer rays. So what I'll do is let's just make that about like that. Make the length of these a little bit like that and take it down just a little bit. So we're just adding a touch of artificial sun to sort of show what's going on there. I'll close that. And now let's take a look. Before and after. What a difference. What a difference we made. So that's sort of fun. So one other thing that we need to fix, and that is now we have these dust spots in the clouds and all over the place. I need to get rid of those. There's a fantastic tool we can use for that. It's called Erase. And you're probably thinking we need to go in and do those individually. No, of course not. We have remove dust spots. The AI is going to go and look for all the dust spots in the image. And you can see it's calculating, it's saying removing. So it's going through and looking for all of that stuff. And so once this is finished, we can go in here and we'll be able to see it says dust spots removed. And yeah, dust spots have been removed. They're gone. So it just did it for us. So we can go in here and look. There is our image. Looks pretty good. So I'm hitting the F key, by the way. So F gives us a nice full screen view. I like that. So we can sort of see what's in there. It's pretty cool. Then I'm also hitting the / key to show before and after. So I can do that. So I can go into full screen and see how this looks. That's pretty cool. So what I want to do now is, now that I have all of this stuff done, so let's say I have a series of images that I took on this beach, or I have a series of images that have very similar exposures with a blown out sky and a dark foreground. And I don't want to have to go through and do all this stuff over and over again. What I can do is I can take all of the stuff that I just did and I can wrap it up and save it as a preset. And then in the future, I can push one button and all of the stuff that we just did is applied instantly. So that's what I'm going to do. So what I will do is on the right-hand side over here, where we have edits, at the very bottom, see if I have this right. Actually, no, it's not here. It's over here. Sorry, moved on me. I can click on this, and then I don't know if you can see that because I'm not sharing. There we go. Over here, we have actions, and we have this save as preset. So again, that is on the left-hand side, save as preset. So I'll click on that. And so make sure I've got this there. Good. My presets, actions. Why is it not saving as a preset? Oh, there it is. My preset. Let's just call this Luminar demo preset. All right. So now, watch what will happen. I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to go back to edit. And I'm going to click this big button right here that says discard edits. So we're going to go all the way back to the beginning. And then what I can do is now if I go into presets, and click on that, I can go over here to my presets. And then I have this Luminar demo preset. Notice if I just hover over it, you can see the effect. I can go down to these different presets that I've built. And so with one click, bam, it's going to go through and do all of those presets and use the AI to find the dust spots and all of the different things that we needed to get rid of. And so those are all set. So let's zoom in here and see if these dust spots go away. And they didn't, so I'm not sure why. Oh, it's still processing. So something is wonky with this preset. Let's check and see if I did not save it with the dust spots. I didn't. So I didn't apply the dust spot removal for that preset. So I think what I did is I played with it, but I didn't close that panel, so it didn't assign that. So that was the reason that didn't happen. So I did play with this photo earlier. I created a preset that I really like, and you can see right there, bammo. I like this image. I like this edit much better. And I think on this one, I also forgot to apply the, I didn't apply the removing of the dust spots. So let me just remove the dust spots, close that, make sure that it's in the edit. Yeah. Okay. So now this applying erase here is happening, and those are going away. And so now I have all of that happening. So I'm going to go check and see what kind of questions we have, because I want to show you some generative stuff that is going to blow your mind. Then we're going to go in and do maybe one other edit or two, depending on what you guys want. But I need to see if we have some questions before I do that. Okay. So, cool. Yeah. Let's see. So Paul, curves can be pretty difficult to get right without some practice. I think maybe what I should do is do a class just on curves, because curves, once you learn them, you can apply that to Lightroom Classic, Lightroom CC, Capture One, Photoshop, any of the Nick collection stuff, Photolab. Doesn't matter what application you're using, curves work the same across all applications. So maybe that would be worth maybe a little live thing. Kurt, Panama is fantastic. Hey, Phoenix, Arizona. Awesome, awesome. That's really good. Okay, so develop, good. So here's a good question. So I've always wondered if presets were worth it for other kind of similar photos. They are absolutely, yes. They are so worth it. I use presets. It doesn't matter if I'm in Lightroom Classic, Lightroom CC, or Luminar, or Evoto, or Photolab. So I use all of those different things. I use presets just constantly. They are such a time saver. And not only do they save you time, but one of the things that really is a huge difference is if you're shooting in a studio and you're tethered, you can dial in your exposure and all of your edits and your shadows and your highlights and sharpness and all that kind of stuff. And then as you're shooting, you can apply that preset to your images. And so you're seeing the images coming in as close to the finished product as possible, which is really fantastic if you're working with a model or you're working with a company that wants to sort of see things. Some people have a hard time understanding that the raw files coming in don't really reflect what you're going to get as far as the end result. And just a quick preset can sort of help people bridge that gap. So absolutely, I love using presets for all of those reasons. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I want to show you a couple of different things. We're going to go back over here. I have to remind myself to show on the screen what I'm doing. So what I want to do is I just want to show you some things that are over here in the catalog. And I'm going to make sure this is marked as a favorite. So we have these things over here in the catalog. Gen Erase, Gen Swap, Gen Expand. So I'm going to show you two of these. So I'm going to click on this image right here. Notice I'm not in the edit area or the presets area yet. I'm still in the catalog. So I would like to get rid of this ugly barrel. It's so nasty. So here's what I can do. So first, let's use generative erase. So what generative erase is going to do is it's going to erase whatever's there and replace it with something that it thinks should be there. So sometimes it gets it way wrong, way wrong. But a lot of times it gets it right. One of the things also that's coming with the new release that's coming in about a month or so, they have replaced the generative, whatever happens from the AI in the background, they've updated that. So evidently it's much better. I didn't get a look at that, but from the people that I talked to that did look at it, they said this is going to be much better. Okay, so let's get rid of this barrel. So we have this barrel here. I'm going to click on Gen Erase. The first thing that's going to happen is the application is going to go bloop, bloop, and look at everything. And then what I need to do is I need to just go in and paint over the thing I want to erase. So it's this blue nasty bucket right there. So that has been selected. And so I'm seeing that I have, there we go. I zoomed in too far accidentally. So now that that's there, I have these different things at the bottom of the screen that I can use. So by default, I'm just going to click on this, which says erase. So I'll click that. And again, the AI, so this is going out to the web, going to the cloud, going to their data centers. It's trying to match what's happening here with something that it can replace that blue bucket with. And check it out. It's gone. Is that not crazy? It's just, yeah, it's gone. So I can go over here. We can look. And, yep, gone. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to fit this to the screen. You can see before and after. Just got rid of it. So that's generative erase. That's pretty darn cool. There's another thing I want to do though. So I'm going to cancel this. Let's put a dog in there. So I'm a big fan of dogs. I don't know if you realized on the countdown at the beginning of this show, there were the dogs as a dog theme countdown. I love dogs. So more dogs, the better. So we're doing gen swap now. So I did that really fast. Let me show you again what I just did. So I clicked on generative swap, this right here. So I'm going to click on that again. Bleep, bloop, bloop. That's going to come in. I'm going to hide myself so you can see what we're doing. Same kind of thing. So what we have to first do is we have to select the thing we want to swap out. So I'm going to paint in the bucket. And now it's asking me down here, what is it that you envision here? What do you want to see? So I'm going to type in a happy dog and hit enter. Bloop, 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 bloop. So now it's going to go evaluate this, try to figure out how to match the background, all that kind of stuff. And then I am always curious what happens in this situation. So sometimes it's a really good match. Sometimes it's horrible. So that's pretty fun. So we have now a happy dog that's over there. How fun is that? So now we have a happy dog. So I'll just go back down and there it is. Happy dog. It's pretty good. I mean, it even has his little paw over the hose, which is pretty good. I can change this. So let's say a happy poodle. Let's change it from happy dog to happy poodle. Let's see if it actually brings in a poodle instead of just a random happy dog. So bleep, bloop, bloop. It goes again. So as this is going, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. There we go. And we have a happy poodle. And so I can fit that on screen. There you have it. I can save that. Now, once you save this, once you save the image, and I'll put myself out of the way. We've got the happy poodle down here. He's looking so happy. Even the light matches. That's the thing that's pretty crazy. So it matches the direction of the light. But notice we have now a new folder. This new folder is called Generative Creations. And so it is saving anything that's created artificially. It's saving that in a new folder. So it's no longer the raw file. It's a brand new image that's been made. And that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's go and see if we have more questions. So I want to make sure that, yeah, so even the lighting on that looks good. And also, yeah, the dog looks kind of wet, which is pretty darn crazy. I like that. So, yeah, I really like how all this stuff works. It's really sort of fun. Let's now, you know, we could just go and do this kind of stuff for a long time, but I don't want to just take all night. I know you have places to go and work to go to tomorrow. Let's do this. Let's dive into those presets and see what happens when we use presets to see if they are worth anything. There's a lot more with Neo that we could be doing just in the edit setting. So before we go to the presets, I just want to check to make sure everybody's on board with what we did. So I'm going to go back over here to my photos and I'll grab this one here, click on edit. So just a refresher, remember that in the edits, we have our tools. Our tools do different things. If you're not sure what that tool does, you can click on the eye and it will tell you what this tool does for you. Tools are categorized in different ways. We have essential tools that develop and erase and structure. We have tools for landscapes, so sun rays, twilight enhancer, adding atmosphere, this generic landscape that does some stuff, water enhancer, which is sort of new. We have some creative tools, relight, magic light. These creative tools are pretty insane. So if we have time, we'll play with some of those a little bit later on. And then we've got stuff specific to portraits, which we haven't even done yet. So we can add bokeh, we can add studio lighting, we can fix skin, we can reshape bodies. And then if you're a professional, depending on which software you have, you can do super contrast and clone and all that kind of stuff. So the tools have sliders for changing how those tools behave. And then we have masks to apply the tools to specific areas. And then those things show up over here in our edits, and we can see exactly what's been done to an image. And so that's sort of our history palette. So that's a quick review. I want to make sure everybody's on board with that before we go on. And so if you're ready to go on, let me know. I'm checking here to see. It looks like everybody's ready to go on. There is a delay of about 20 seconds, but yeah, looks like everybody's ready to go on. So I will check again. So let's talk about presets now. So again, presets are a bunch of different edits that have been wrapped together. You can apply it clicking just once. So let's go in and let's choose Destiny. So Destiny, this is a photo shoot that I did, and this is really nice soft light. I really like it. They're all similar looks. I'm bringing this in. So what we need to do is we need to fix the color. We need to add some softness to this. And so that's what I want to do. I want to add some softness to this. So what we'll do here is, instead of going in and doing all that stuff, let's go to the presets. And I'm going to get out of my presets. And what happens is, as soon as you open an image, up on the right-hand side, so up over here, you'll see it says for this photo. So the AI looks at the image. So it's looking at what's in that image. And it says, hey, I think this is a portrait. And some of these presets that are built in might work for this image. So I'm going to click on this one. I don't know what this is. I haven't seen this. This is not rehearsed. This is an essence collection. And if I want to know what these are going to do, I can just hover over. Ooh, Marquis adds a little stuff. It changes her face. Fashionista, Rembrandt, Flawless. Flawless looks pretty good. Let's see if we can do even better. I think these experimental presets here. Notice we have these little loop-to-loops here. So it's evaluating the image to know, oh, there we go. Look at that. Burned film. Yeah, these I think match what we're going for a little bit better. I like this one. I'm just going to click it. Burn film. Okay, I can change the intensity of that preset. So it's going to change the intensity of all those different edits. So I can change this slider. So instead of one at a time changing things, I can just say, hey, back the whole thing off. Or I can always go in and click edit and then I can see exactly what's been done to this image. So if I want to change something on this, so for example, let's go into the face here. So we can slim her face, which is totally not needed. And it's evaluating and applying that. You can see it's working down here. So it's not instant. So it says applying face. So the AI is working. So yeah, you can see that I just slimmed up her face a little bit. So let's see if we can see before and after there. Yeah, the AI sometimes can take a little bit of time. So that's all right. I think we can do even better. We have structure. So if I increase that, and the AI is working, so the faster the computer, the faster the internet connection, the faster all this stuff is going to go. So I can add or subtract structure for this. I think subtracting structure is going to work well. I can do whatever I want. I can add, it looks like film grain. Not much was even added. I'm going to add some film grain to this. So let's see if that adds this over the top of her skin. Whoa, it does. Too much, way too much. Anyway, you get the idea. I can go in and I can take a preset, apply it to an image, tweak that. And here's the thing that I absolutely love about these presets. So I'm going to go back to my catalog and I'm going to say this image that I shot, this one down here, looks pretty good. I want all my images to look like that. So what I'll do is I'm just going to shift click all these images. So I've selected all of them. And then I can right click and go to adjustments. And then I can say sync adjustments. Donk. When I do that, it's going to sync all of those adjustments, all of the film grain, all the looks, all of the stuff that's happened. It's going to sync it to all of these images. And you'll start to see them popping in one at a time here. So if I just go in, you can see this guy. It's processing because I added that to a bunch of things. It's going to take a little time for it to process, but it will eventually come in and not look like an Atari 2600. There it is. It's processing that. Then I can go in and I can do whatever I need to do. So I can maybe, it looks like I need to crop this. So I can go in and crop it. Something like that. So you get the idea. These little presets, they're great. I really like that. Okay, so with just a couple clicks, we edited that. That's pretty awesome. Let's do one other thing here. Let's check out this. Let's go to a preset and it's going to say for this photo, we've got some urban stuff, big screen, big city lights, and then we can see exactly what it's going to be doing. I sort of like this frosty. I want it a little bit warmer, something like that. Let me show you one other thing that we can do in the edit area. I'm going to go over here to one of my favorite tools, sky. Click on that, and then I can change the sky. So I'm just going to click on this sky right here. This sky, and it'll change the sky to all kinds of things. Sunset clouds looks too much. Let's do a dramatic sky, something like this. You get the idea. The AI is going and figuring out where the sky is, applying that to it. It's really, really nice. So that is pretty awesome. I really, really love that. One of the things I want to show you though, in addition to these presets, there are all these essential presets that are down here. So there's a ton of them. Then there's this little extras thing here. If I click on that, this is where they can, this can get to be dangerous. So you can go in and you can buy little things. So you can add different presets. You can add different skies. You can add different lookup tables. You can add different overlays. You can add bundles. And so depending on what kind of photographer you are, if you are like a lot of photographers, you don't want to go in and do all those edits. You just want to use some presets and apply those really quickly and get it done. Well, you can go in to the marketplace and find different things. They also have this X membership, which some people do. And what that allows you to do is have a subscription where every month you get new skies or presets. And so those just pop in And so at your choice. So this is very, what would you call it? It's, I can't think of the word. I'm too tired. Where you can add stuff on. What's the word for that? Somebody tell me. I don't know if you guys caught this. I didn't catch this, but in the live stream a couple weeks ago, I was talking about the model and I said she had sleep depravity instead of saying she was sleep deprived. And my brother, who's watching now, he's like, dude, it's sleep deprived, not sleep depravity. I think I have sleep depravity right now. I think that's what's happening. Okay, I'm going to go in and see. Let's see. Okay, Paul. Yes, this is going to stay online so you can see the rest anytime you want. Add-on. Modular. Modular is the word I'm looking for. Modular. This is a modular thing. Okay. 3 back legs. I missed something. Maybe the dog has 3 back legs. I want to check. Let's see. Let's see the before and after. So yeah, Paul, so one of the things when you do a generative image, once you apply it, that's a new image. And so you don't see the before and after. You only see that while you're adding the thing. So I missed that opportunity, which is really cool. I remember, so this is my brother. Yeah, the Atari 2600 was our first computer. And when we got it on Christmas Day in 1980 or 81, we stayed up, I think, all night playing Asteroids. One of the best memories of my life. It was great. Okay, so let me just go back and check to see if there's any of the fundamentals of Luminar Neo that I haven't covered, because I think that I've covered everything so far as the basics, the thing that we need to know. And if not, let me know. There's one other thing, I guess, I didn't dive into. And so that is HDR images. So let's see if I've got some photos. I already did this once. So I didn't do layers and I haven't done HDR stuff. So let me do those 2 things. Let's start, and I'm going to use a preset because I've already done this before. I'm going to go in here and open this image. And so you don't have to sit through me editing this entire image. This is of my friend Lydia. We did this photo shoot. Random trivia, I did this as an Adorama TV video and I had to remove it from Adorama TV because she was not wearing protective eyewear and they didn't want to be held liable for somebody being an idiot like me and causing problems. You know, if a spark went in her eye, that would have been bad. So don't do what I did. Okay, so what I want to do is I am going to show you how you can use these different layers. So the layers are on the left-hand side over here. And what I want to do is I just want to give this some depth. And so if I click on that plus, you can see that I have a bunch of things. So we have these different flares, we have light leaks, we have sparklers, we have stardust bokeh. So we can add any of those on top of our image, or you can see that we have my images. So you can bring in your own images as another layer and put that on top. And so I was playing with this earlier. So I have this image and I'll just put it there. So this is just an image of my friend Diana. So this is not something we would put over there, but just let me just show you something, how this masking works. So I can go into masking over here on this layer, click on background removal, AI, bloop, 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 bloop. It goes in and does its thing. And it just is just an example of how masking is really powerful. And then I can say, okay, remove the background. I'm satisfied with what it's done. It's going to remove all those trees and everything. And now look at that. I have this layer of this person on top. And so I can grab that. I can move that around if I want. So I can move that around. I can change this. I can make it much more contrasty. So she needs to have the blacks. There we go. Ponk. So yeah, we can do stuff like that. I don't want to do that. I'm going to remove that layer. Let's do a different thing. Let's go in and let's add some sparks. So you see those sparklers over the top? We can do that. I can remove that. We can add some light flares or little hearts, I guess. I'll remove that. You get the idea. So you have all these options for adding some more depth to an image. Let's see what I did. Let's see what I did in my preset. So I have a preset for this image. My presets, Lydia Sparks. I will click on that. Bam. Yeah, I added a bunch of little sparklers on top of that image. So those are layers. They're really powerful, something you might want to play with. And then the other thing that I want to do is let's do an HDR image. So don't forget, if you have questions, ask those. So I'm going to set up this HDR image, then I'm going to go check and see if we have any questions, because there is a little bit of a delay between what you see and what I say. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 images. So this is of the Louvre. So this was an HDR image that I shot. So 3 different exposures. You can definitely tell a couple of things in this image. So it was handheld. So you can see things are moving around. Whoops. So you can see that the buildings are not staying still, especially up over here. You can see that's moving around. You can also see, if you look closely, these people right here, they are moving around. So they are walking. So yeah, you can see those guys walking around. So if I just merge these images, what will happen is the people would be ghosted, because we'd have 3 images on top, and so we would have this ghost of an image. And then the building, because it wasn't shot on a tripod, it needs to be aligned as well. And so we can just do all of that stuff automatically. So what I'm going to do is go back to the catalog here. I'm going to take these 3 things, and then we have this right here, HDR merge. I'm going to take 3 photos. So you can do between 1 and 1,000 photos. So I've never seen a 1,000 photo HDR merge. 5, I think, is fine. So I'm also going to click on this little ellipsis here to make sure that I've selected auto alignment, because I'm not on a tripod, and make sure that I click ghost reduction, because those people are moving. So I don't want to have multiple versions of the same person. I want to make sure that that is all done. So once that's done, I'll click this little ellipsis. And then I'm just going to say merge. And what that's going to do is it's going to take the dynamic range of all of those images, the darkest to the brightest, put them together, create a new image that then I can go and change the exposure, highlight, shadows, color, all that kind of stuff. And so it's bringing that in, and you can see that that is put that in my HDR merge folder right there. And so we can go up here. I'll make that a favorite. Click. And so this needs to be edited. It needs to have some tonal values corrected. So let's first go into the develop panel here, and let's take the blacks down. Let's take the whites, something like that, shadows and highlights, etc. We can start playing with this, adding contrast, change our exposure. We can go down to our curves, give this a little bit of a contrast curve. We can change the sky. We can do all kinds of stuff. I've already done this. And so instead of going through here and doing all this, I'm just going to go over to the edits. I'm going to discard everything I just did. Let's go over to a preset. My presets. I've got one called the Louvre. Click. I will click on that. It's going to evaluate this image, and blammo. There it is. Before and after. So I did a sky replacement. I did some color changes, some things like that. So again, if you have these presets, you can spend the time to create all of that stuff. And then with just one click of the button, you can see that over here, I did develop and enhance. I added some mood, changed the sky, and then did a final correction to that. And that's what happened there. The other thing is I have this person down here. Because she's there, I can do a couple things. I can generate. So I can go in here and say we want to get rid of this person down in the lower right-hand corner, or I could just crop her out. So let's just do a generate to see what happens. And so yeah, let's get a larger brush. Brush this person right here. And then erase. And then let's see if that fixes that. doo-ka-doo-ka-doo-ka-doo, goes through, takes a couple seconds, she's gone, which is really pretty crazy. So here's the before and after. If I zoom in all the way on that 100%, and I'll go over here to where she used to be, notice that it replaced even the brick tiles, the patterns there. So it's not perfect, but I think it's good enough. If I'm going to do something for Instagram or social media or something like that, you can see that that's not so bad. Not so bad at all. Okay. Let's see what kind of questions you guys have. I think, let's see. Okay, so is there a transform edit? Is there a transform edit? Darn it, missing part of her arm. I'm not checking fast enough. So Kurt says I'm missing a part of her arm. I didn't even see that. I'm going so fast and my screen is really tiny. So is there a transform edit to make vertical, etc.? So there's not like a bounding box like there is in Photoshop where you hit Command or Control T and then you can stretch and all that kind of stuff. So no, there is not that. There is something similar. I'm guessing you're talking about the layer. So I'll show you that. And then also this right here, let's see. Does Luminar Neo make adjustments depending on the inherent barrel distortion from a wide angle lens? Yeah, so you can turn on lens correction in the raw edit. So I'll show you that as well. So let me show you the bounding box and let me show you the lens correction stuff. It's not as good as the DxO software, you know, that level of correction, but it's still pretty good. So let's see if I have something that's a wide angle lens. So this is a wide angle lens here. And then what I will do, let's see what this was. So this is a 16-35 Canon 16-35. So it's a decent lens, but let's go over to edit. And then what we can do is we have down here, we have optics and we have transform. So if I click on optics, you can see auto distortion, chromatic aberration, defringe, all that kind of stuff that you would have in a different image or a different software is there. So I can click on the before and after. You can see it's fixing that lens distortion and making those horizons a little bit more level. I can also manually go in and change, you know, pin cushion is one direction and then the barrel is the other. So I can manually do that, but it's using EXIF metadata to figure out what lens and then apply that based on a database of lenses that it's evaluated in the lab. So similar to what Adobe Camera Raw or DxO Photo Lab or Pure Raw or, you know, you name whichever software you like, it's doing the same type of thing. There is also an upright, similar to Lightroom Classic, there is an upright feature. So if you're doing architectural work, so let's take this image right here. Notice that it looks like this is falling backwards. And so what I can do is I can do an automatic correction because look at this, it's almost at a 45-degree angle. So what we need to do is we need to fix that. So again, I'm going to go down here to transform. I'm in the raw develop module. There is a little auto right here. This would be the equivalent of the upright feature. So if I click that, it's going to go in, it's going to evaluate. And now notice that that distortion has been fixed. I can undo that. I can manually drag and change those corrections. So horizontal, vertical, change my aspect, etc. So you can either do the auto or you can allow it to do its own thing. Something like this with wide angle lenses, I hate how this looks. I almost prefer the distortion, but you can go in and make this a little less obvious by adding a crop to it. So I'm going to make this free. Maybe even make this a 16:9 so it's more cinematic. And then do something like that. Don't apply that. And then there you have it. So it's much less wonky looking. So those are just standard features that you would have. Let's go back to, I think what you were asking about was like the layer, having a free transform. So if I go here to edit, and then I go to layer properties, you can see I've got these handles on the side, and you can move and drag and drop and move your layers around like that. So it's always proportional. So if you want to change this like you would, I guess, yeah, so you can do that if you don't drag on the corner. So I learned something new. So there's that. So that's the equivalent of the transform tool in Photoshop. So that's that. Okay, so let's see if I've answered all of those questions. Awesome. Okay, that's good. So is that popping up? I guess I have to turn this on. There it goes. Awesome. Let's see. After the raw file processing, are there any edits that we have to do in a certain order? Yeah, there are some. And it's specific to how you work with shadows and highlights. And so I'm going to make a really obvious, I'm going to overdo this edit. And then I think we'll be done because we're almost at 2 hours here. I think people are going to get tired out. But let me show you something to really exaggerate this. So let me find an image that's going to really stand out. I think we'll just use, we'll use this. Nah, we've already used this. Let's use something that's not quite as, how about this? Okay, we'll use this image again. Okay, so if I go over here to the edits, and let's see which edits I did. It's loading all that stuff in. Again, got to remind myself to show you what I'm doing. I need a larger monitor so I can remind myself to show you. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of relight. And so now we just have develop. We just have that. And so I have this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add on top of that a vignette. And I'm going to darken this vignette quite a bit. So I'm really overdoing this. Okay, I'm going to feather this. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, something like that. Okay. So from this edit right here, if I said, hey, there's too much in that, and I wanted to bring in the edges, I could go into the vignette and I could just sort of fade that in and out, and I would bring back in the information underneath that. But let's say I did a different edit on top of that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a develop. Okay. And on this, what I want to do is through the develop, I want to bring back the shadows and the details in this corner. So if I go in here to the shadows and I'm like, bring it back, notice I can't really bring that back because that vignette is underneath there. So I can't restore all of these edges. So I need to make sure that if I'm doing any kind of tonality stuff, I do it in the right order. So if I got rid of that vignette, so let's undo it. Then up here in this develop, notice I'm getting the corners and things like that. So that's really the danger of doing things in the wrong order, is if you accidentally blow out the highlights or you crush the shadows and so there's no detail. If there's no detail, the layers above it can't bring any detail out. It's essentially the same thing as shooting a JPEG image that has no detail in the shadows. There's just nothing there to bring out. So that's why it's really critical to do all of the tonality as much as possible on the raw level. So you can always go back into that raw and bring out shadows and midtones and highlights and adjust those things. But if you do it higher up the stack, if there's detail that's been lost, you can't bring it out again. It's stuck there. Okay, I think that has answered that question for you. So make sure that you let me know if I have answered that or not. And let's go. Okay, so cool. Thank you for your time. Absolutely, I'm here. And everything's tracking. So denoise and sharpen last. Denoise first, sharpen last. The reason that you want to denoise first is you want to denoise the raw file. So noise comes from the sensor being amplified. It's that there's gain applied to it. And so you want to get rid of all the noise at the start with the raw data. And then sharpness you want to apply at the end, because if you do it, it's again like a JPEG image that's over sharpened. You'll get halos and things like that. Let me show you something, by the way, because I didn't even cover it, with exactly what we're talking about, that denoise stuff. So let me go over here again, back to Luminar Neo. I'll go over here. Yay, I did it. If you have a noisy image, let's see if I have a noisy image, something noisy. In the new release, you can search by ISO. I cannot wait. So I think this is a drone shot that I did of, is this a raw image? Yeah, so I think this is sort of noisy. Yeah, so this has got some noise to it. If I go in here, maybe at 200%, I don't know if this is showing up on YouTube, but there's quite a bit of noise in this image. So what I would normally do here is the first thing we would do when we edit, that we have to develop, but notice we have this, noiseless raw. So you want to denoise first. So we go in here, and this is going to evaluate the image and give you a suggestion for which adjustment you can use. So there's low, middle, and high. Or if you're an advanced user and you understand the difference between luminosity and chromacity and all of that kind of stuff, you can use these sliders here to denoise an image. Now, I haven't done a deep dive into the denoising. I think the best denoising I've ever seen is in DxO Pure Raw. It's insane. It's so good. So let's just see how this does. We're going to go back over here, and then let's go in and choose. I'm just going to use its suggestion, low. Bleep, bloop, bloop, bloop. I love this animation. If you move your mouse around, it follows the mouse. So it's not actually just something to make you happy. That's pretty darn good. So I'm going to go in here to 200%. I don't know if this is showing, so that's before, and after. So there's a lot of chromatic noise in this. Let's go with high. That just mushes everything. So that's a little too much. But I don't know, in these buildings down here, yeah, that's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. So yeah, so you denoise first, sharpen last. So we would go in here, then we'd go to our develop. We would go in, we'd change our color, make it something that's decent. So I can go and choose a neutral color there. That's way too blue. Something like that. I can go in, let's do a little curve here. Bloop, bloop, bloop. You get the idea. Anyway, so we've got that. Looks pretty cool. And then we would go in and then add a sharpening at the end. Here's super sharp. Adjustments, we can even do motion blur or universal. Let's say middle. Bleep, bloop, bloop, bloop. AI. Wow. And it's applying super sharp. I hope this comes across in the YouTube video. So it's working down here. I don't know if that shows up on the screen, but it's processing all of this stuff. So this is a really noisy small sensor. This was shot from a DJI Air 2S, I believe. So it's just a drone sky shot of just down the road here in Medellin. So it's applying super sharp. So it's taking a while. Some of this stuff takes a while. Well, while that's taking a while, let's do this. Let's see if there's any questions. And looks like there are no questions. Okay, fantastic. Let's go in and see the final result. Come on, show me the final result. It's still applying. So some of this stuff, it does take a little while. There was some generative stuff I did earlier on a demo, and okay, there it is. Wow, that is pretty impressive. That's a pretty impressive result. So I don't know if you can see that on, I'll go into maybe 200%, 300%. Yeah, it's pretty impressive what's going on there. Look how clean these windows are. That's nuts. Here, I'll hide myself so you can see that. Yep, pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. Okay, I think that's it for tonight. So what I'd love to do, if you're watching this in the future, if you have any questions, if you've made it this far, fantastic. Leave your questions in the comments. We might come back to this. My plan is to do an informal class like this or a session where I'm teaching some principle, either a post-production or something like that. Again, I want to mention that we have memberships now for the channel. And then, so if you're a Snap family member, you're supporting the channel, helping us all learn, helping to pay for things like electricity, gear, coffee, models, rental studios, stuff like that. If you're the next level up, the Snap family student, you have access to long-form classes. These are well-defined things like my essential training series for studio lighting, for off-camera flash, on-camera flash, working on location, Lightroom Classic, Photoshop. Those are like 9-hour classes that will be chopped up into like 1-hour sessions with chapters and student materials and all that kind of stuff. And if you really want to help pay it forward, if you're an accomplished photographer or you just happen to be independently wealthy and want to help the community here, we do have the Snap Family Mentor. And so that's a little bit more of a financial commitment, but it helps to pay for all of this stuff. So that's available to you. Thanks everybody so much for joining. I'm going to take one really fast last look to make sure that I haven't missed anybody. And so we've got a wow and another wow, wow. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, I think that's it. Thanks so much for joining us. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. I think tomorrow or the next day, there's going to be a big channel update where I'm going to fill everybody in, but I'm going to save that for tomorrow. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here and for joining us. Thank you, Kurt. Thanks, everybody. Special thanks to my brother who helped me figure out all of the audio levels and the lighting and the switching and all the kind of stuff that I'm doing. So he helped me practice all this for a few weeks before I did this. So a big thanks to Zero Nil Nada. That's my brother. He helped me out. Thanks a lot. I will see you guys next time.